Hello, everyone. In today's episode, I'm joined with Dr. Vibesman, and today is going to be a really interesting one because we're going to New York today. It's really interesting when I speak to different people around the world, like in America. So it's going to be really nice to talk to you today.
Yes, yes. Thank you
Mm.
so much. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, yeah. I know you're really passionate about raising awareness of autism and dance as well. I know you like your dance.
Mhm. See, the reason why I'm so passionate about raising awareness really is because, my own struggles with it. I spent so much of my life trying to run away from the fact that I have it, but it winds up coming out in different like scenarios, not just scenarios, but like different instances. So really I just got to a point where everything was on my shoulders and I couldn't bear the weight anymore, so I had to release it. And acknowledging my autism at like the age of 29 fully without any type of trepidation behind it was one of the key factors that helped me. And finding a support group to talk to people where that understood where I was coming from, that really that that really just made me even it gave me it empowered me even further, I would say.
Yeah.
The dance that I do, I'm a b-boy. So I break, that's my thing. I started doing that because I always wanted to learn the dance. I was always fascinated by the patterns of footwork that people would use. I was always fascinated by the power moves, like the flares, the windmills, and whatnot. But mainly just the style of the whole dance. I've always wanted to do it, and I started learning it when I was in 10th grade in high school, and I've been going with it ever since. So this is like my 15th year because I started when I was 15. And when we started, we didn't have any teachers or anything like that. But we found people that taught afterwards, a year afterwards. But the dance, if anything, the dance really helped me express myself as a person in words that I, in ways that I couldn't explain in just words. Like it helps me to express even further. You know, it's but even then, the way the autism has played a role in how I've approached the dance, like some of the moves that I do, or how I do the moves, and pretty much how I operate in when I go to places like events. We call them jams, but how I operate is I don't really jump into ciphers that often. I don't know. It's just a sometimes it's just a fear thing, but most times it's just I want to be able to concentrate and preserve my body for certain matchups and whatnot. But yeah, this dance has really helped me find myself as a person. It's added a whole different dimension to my identity, and it's helped me to express myself big time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's really good that you can find something that you're passionate about and you enjoy, um,
Hmm.
as well as a link in your like autism in it as well. Like I think like when we have a hobby that we're really passionate about, we like it a lot. We do it a lot. We may talk about it a lot, and then we, we I think the more we're interested in something that like as you say, that helps us as a person.
Yeah, yeah. With autism, we have this power where we can take a special interest in something and we will study it down to the bone, down to a T. And we start talking to you about it. We can talk to you about it for minutes, hours, days. Like we wouldn't be able to stop ourselves unless we're like, okay, I'm gonna stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was just in a support group the other day, and we were talking about different experiences that children with autism have, and I shared some of mine. I shared some of mine. Like I have this I have this like fascination with trains, and I would all and in the MTA subway, I would always be in the front of the train when because they had the window where you could see into the track, and I would just watch it, and I would just look at the track. That's it. I would just look at the train go along the tracks and everything, all the signals and and how it would stop at all the different stations.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and there were kids and there were parents with children that could relate to that. And finding out that these experiences were not unique to me alone, they that other people had done the same things, that that actually it helped me to make sense of my life,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's for like really interesting. Like you saying about the trains and just maybe going to the front to look out the window where it's on the tracks. Because even I think I do that quite a lot. Like I might have my earphones in while going on a journey somewhere on the train. But you're looking outside like because like if you put your face maybe towards it, it's like you're going really fast on the train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just looking, not just the front of the train, but looking at the different environments in the city, like looking at all the different buildings every day and stuff. Like that's also really, it's also really nice. It's also really calming and relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like so sometimes you may like fall asleep because you're that relaxed on the train, and then you miss your stop, and then you think I'm still on the train.
Mm. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. That's happened to me a few times.
yeah,
Thankfully nothing unsafe has happened. But when I fell asleep on the train. But yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think it happens to most of us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But like if you maybe talk about like the I suppose the diagnosis like like with autism.
Okay. So my diagnosis, I remember it very vaguely.
Mm,
Like I just remember being inside of an office downtown Brooklyn somewhere, and I guess I was asked to do like certain things like speech. Like it's a whole story that my mother and my aunt would better be able to explain than I can. Like when I was younger, I wasn't talking very much. I had speech delay. I didn't, so most of the words that I said would be picked up from other people who spoke words. And I would repeat it and I would repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So that's called echolalia, right?
yeah,
Um, I had to, I had, that was how I learned how to form sentences as well. I was always a great reader. Like I could look at a book and read it. Like I picked that up instantly. You know, math isn't my strongest subject. I'll admit that right now. It's
mm,
not like I can't count or can't do multiplication or times tables, but it's not really the strongest subject in the book for me.
mm,
It's that's okay. Um, when I was younger, they diagnosed me with autism. They said I had auditory. They said I had something like processing disorder or whatever, but it's really just autism. Pretty much, I had to be in I had to be in special education for most of my life, from kindergarten all the way up until 11th or 12th grade, right?
yeah,
So the best way I can tell the story about my diagnosis is through my experience, like after the diagnosis,
yeah.
right?
That's it.
Well, my aunt, when I was younger, when I was like a child, my family would notice that I would rock back and forth in a chair. Um, family would notice I would rock back and forth in a chair. Since I had the fascination with the trains, I would always want to try to go on a different train, travel to a different route, whatever. And my mom would be like, "No." There would be times where I would do what's called stimming, which is basically a series of repetitive movements that are used to stimulate one's brain.
Yeah,
When right, so some of those movements my mother kind of disciplined me out of, I believe. I don't know why, but yeah. Um, so when I was in school, it's kind of weird, right? You feel autism, it's like you don't feel any different from other people, but you are, and it's hard to explain.
yeah,
Your peers will look at you. People you're around will look at you and be like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. You're totally fine," or "You're probably just slow in a little bit. That's all." And see, that's the problem. That therein lies the problem. We get stereotyped as slow, which is not. which is a little messed up. And because of those stereotypes and those stigmas, some parents, when they find out that their child is autistic, some of them will be like, "Oh my God, why?" And they think the world's coming to an end or whichever thing. But that's not necessarily the case. But as an autistic individual, as a child growing into an adult, like, you learn things, but you don't learn them as fast as others do. It was a mixture of special ed classes and regular mainstream learning classes. The mainstream learning classes, the pace that they were teaching was different from the special education classes. And of course I did well in the class, but it was kind of hard for me to follow along. I couldn't take notes as fast as everybody else. I couldn't write as fast as everybody else. I would try to write fast and my hands would hurt, to the point where my hands would hurt and stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it would your peers look at you and think there's nothing wrong, but you're not, and then you're wondering, why am I in a different class from everybody else? Like, in my special ed class, I consider myself to be the best reader, and I always tried to compete and raise my hand and answer every question. Because if I answered every question, then that would solidify that for me. It would compensate for me. Like, I'd be like, okay, I'm I'm not I'm not doing as bad as I think they say I am. Every report card that I ever got was, this kid has a lot of potential, but he's not realizing it. Like, he could do better. He could perform a lot better. And I spent my whole life wondering, why is that? My whole time I was wondering, why is that the case? I didn't really think about it fully in depth until like 2018, when I had like corrective jaw surgery to close my bite. More on that later.
Yeah.
But but yeah, while I was younger, just not just the academic performances, but like trying to make friends with people, trying to tell the difference between friend and foe. Um, like, thinking people are your friend. Just the just the regular, like, thinking people are your friends, but they're not. But I couldn't tell the difference. I thought everybody that I went to school with was my friend or classmate or whichever thing. But it was really hard. But it was really hard to socialize. I would get bullied, made fun of, and whatnot. It wasn't really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I can kind of I can relate to you when you say like with your experience in school, because I was the same. I was diagnosed at a young age, and I don't remember awfully a lot. So I kind of do it after the diagnosis, a bit like you, with like talking about it and raising that awareness, because I went to a special school. I had my first year in mainstream, and then after that I did go to like special school for the rest of my school. So it got better, but like you can understand the difference. I could understand the difference, but still you would get like I might have been slow as well. Like it's the same as you. I think on my pencil or pen, I had this like rubber thing that kind of helps you not to have like an achy arm or stuff like that. But yeah, I was slow and maybe misunderstanding stuff as well. So yeah, I can relate to you there.
Mm. When I was when I got to high school, when I got to high school, I thought that the special ed period phase of my life was over, but it wasn't really over like that. No, it wasn't over. In fact, I I spent time with kids. I spent time with a lot of the same kid, with a lot of the same elements that I was dealing with in elementary school and middle school, especially eighth grade. Eighth grade was the worst for me. Eighth grade was the worst year.
Mm.
I think people were alienated by me. I think I might have alienated people by my over eagerness to like answer all the questions and not give others a chance to answer the questions and stuff. But I just want I just I think that competition, the competitive phase of it all, I think it comes from I believe it comes from just wanting to do the right thing, because being punished at home made me fear what the consequences would be of the wrong thing. So I felt like if I answered all the questions in class and stuff, I would the parent teacher conferences wouldn't be as brutal, or my mom wouldn't look at me as like I'm crazy and come down hard on me if I or whatever, like in school, But of course, I don't think that was the case. The parent teacher conferences weren't really brutal, but I think they got on me because I wasn't necessarily paying attention, or I was talking to others in class or whichever. But I guess those are just like typical things. When I got to 11th grade, this is the key part here. I wouldn't 11th grade, they advertised it to us as, okay, you have to take SATs, you have to do good on SATs, and you have to do really good in school so that the colleges will look at you and be like, hey, we can accept you now after you write the letter and stuff. I didn't believe in really writing a letter to any college just to go there, but it was what it was. I only applied to like one major school, and of course they didn't accept me, but whatever. In that year, I decided to put it upon myself to try to do try to reach the said potential that they said I wasn't able to reach, or I wasn't meeting, right? I was a regular honor roll student. I got good grades. Made it to first honors. They had a thing called second honors, first honors, and like principal's honors. My goal was to get to the principal's honors list, and all I would need to be in the principal's honors list was a 90 average. I wanted to have a 90 average in the 11th grade, and for whatever reason, like I didn't wind up getting the 90 average, but I had an above 85 average. I had an 88 average in high school in 11th grade, and this was a key component to getting into AVID, at the advanced classes program. I wanted to go to advanced classes because all my friends were there. All the people that I considered to be friends that I hung out with, that I played Uno cards with, went to Central Park with, went to the Nintendo store with. During my time they called it Nintendo World, and we just came over there and played like GameCube all the time. I wanted to be with them, and when I got the averages that I got, they accepted me into the AVID program, but I was still kind of in special ed because after school I had to do my homework over there. I didn't necessarily complete all my homework there because I had just gotten into breaking at the time, and I wanted to practice a lot more than just do schoolwork. So I would stay upstairs for an hour to do stuff, and then I would go downstairs with my friends and practice. That was my thing in 11th grade. I wound up winning when I went to high school graduation. I wound up winning an award, a CS Schultz Award. It was a special education award, pretty much.
Okay.
I wasn't even expecting to win an award at graduation, but I did. I did, and I was happy about it. But how does this relate to autism? Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, the special ed thing, being in after school with a teacher, Miss Doyle, pick up Miss Doyle. I had to really work hard. I had to do all my homework and stuff. Like this was like the support. It was basically I was in the advanced classes, but I had the support of the special ed thing, but the special ed education thing behind me. Well, my biggest mistake though was going to college without being ready to go to college, but also not trying to get the special services that I needed in college. That was what my biggest mistake was. I dropped out of New York City College of Technology, and I wound up transferring my records over to Kingsborough for a new start program. Like basically, I'd start with a clean slate and pretty much like continue taking classes and whatnot. During this time, that was when I found the accessibility service office there, and I got my I found a counselor. He helped me register for my classes because I couldn't do the class registration thing on my own. I just couldn't do it on my own. The biggest takeaway from this is like trying to admit when you admitting when you need help doing stuff, when you can't do everything on your own, you know, and being so prideful that you don't want to ask for help, but you wind up having to ask for help anyway because you just can't understand it. Sometimes you get information overload and you just can't understand and grasp everything right away.
Yeah.
And that I think that is why I've been in special ed the entire time, or acknowledging that I'm an adult with special needs and stuff. Like it's really hard to it was really hard to acknowledge that and accept that and keep living with it.
Yeah, yeah, because you kind of,
Mhm.
it's hard to process, isn't it? Like quite fast.
Mhm.
Like if you're in a classroom with like like your classmates and your peers and they're doing it all themselves, but and they find it easier. What I would do, because I wouldn't ask for the help I needed. Like if I needed help, I would just I would pretend I know what I was doing in a way, just so people didn't look at me differently
Mhm.
because people know what they're doing in the class and I don't. I don't want to come across I'm like the dumb one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly what I would do too. I would try to pretend like I knew what I was doing, but I really didn't know, and I was exposed, and I felt like I might have exposed myself exposed this particular fact about me inside of college when I was in technical graphics class. Like the teacher was looking at me like I was crazy, and I was like, "Oh, so I just do this and this and this," and he was like, "Oh, see, you know the work. You're just being lazy." And I'm like, I wasn't being lazy. I just didn't understand. A lot of times during my growing up, during my upbringing, I would try to I didn't know how to start my homework assignments, and I would look to my aunt or my grandfather or my mother to help me start with something. Like it's really hard to just summon all of that on your own. And even when you do summon it on your own, like it's still like a little tricky and it doesn't come out the way you think it should or
yeah,
the way you feel like it's supposed to.
yeah, yeah. Because I think teachers, and like sometimes teachers, they feel like what they're saying comes across understanding to everyone, not realizing that people may have like special needs or autism, that they think of it a different way that is not understanding for us.
Yeah, and it's so weird. Like they think you tell somebody that you have autism, they'll be like, "Oh, but nothing seems wrong with you. You seem totally fine." But we are totally fine. But it's just you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you wouldn't be able to tell they wouldn't be able to tell that you have autism, and it's because we just have the ability to mask it so well. Some of us do have that ability and some of us don't. It's a wide ranging spectrum. I tried to mask it for several years, and when I started coming out with being like, okay, hey, I have autism, like having it used against me was is something that actually hurt. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to be careful with who I share this information with because they could use it against me and weaponize it against me and all of that. You know, I don't want that.
yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say. I suppose it's hard to trust people, isn't it? Like if they're going to be understanding or they're going to go behind your back and talk about, oh look, I've got a friend who's got autism, but yeah, it's hard and to for other people to understand that don't know about it.
Yeah, it's really hard for them to understand it because they're so used to the jokes. They're so used to making jokes about people that have like intellectual disabilities, mental disabilities, mental challenges. Like they wind up saying some really mean things about that.
Yeah,
When I was when I was younger, when I was younger, I saw special needs kids that would come out during lunchtime to go get lunch, and they would all go back in a single line back to like the basement classes. like the class, they were taking classes in the basement of the school, hidden away from the general public of of the kids in the school, you know. And they would make, and I've heard a lot of jokes made about them. It wasn't really nice. I
No.
And I think that's because of the stigmas that have been placed around autism. That they always like, it's like when you're written off, once you're written off, you're placed into a box. You're placed into this box where people see you, where people already have it in their mind as you're this way and that's it. Like, let's not mess with you. Let's not bother talking to you because they practically think you're dumb.
Yeah. No. That's it, because like it's because the thing is that the reason why I didn't ask for help at that particular time when I was younger, because I know the teacher was typically going to say like try again, have a think about it, but they don't like come over and like they don't spot that you're struggling, that so it's hard to tell someone that you are.
Yeah, even with like, when we talk about trusting, like when it comes to relationships, like I don't want to like I I wait until way into a relationship to say, hey, I have autism. This is what I'm dealing with. I used to wait to really express that.
Yeah.
And and this was out of fear of not being accepted by the partner I was with. And um sometimes the way arguments play out or way certain things are said to me, I find myself not understanding these things right away. So I look to Google and point out, hey, this has been said. What does this mean? And I recently wanted doing that in my previous relationship that I got out of. And yeah, that actually hurt. But I had a conversation about it. And I think that was about it. But having the information used against you, like, oh, what if how are you going to be able to parent a child? How are you going to be able to manage finances? How are you going to be able to do this? It's like it's like because it's like because in their mind, since you have autism, you're limited as to what you can do. They already have it in their mind where you have like a ceiling and that you can't really reach. And for us as autistics, like, you we always wonder I always wonder, like, why am I in this? Why is the way I think or the way I'm wired, why am I so boxed in? why are we so why can't I be outside of the box? why can't why are we wired this way? Is something wrong with me? Is like is something wrong with me? Why can't I understand this right away? Why can't I just pick up things as fast as others? Why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Why did this happen to me? Like, that's one of the constant questions that we face, or that we ask ourselves.
Yeah. We
Well,
do.
me.
Yeah, like I suppose I remember bits about my diagnosis, but I remember that I didn't accept it. I didn't expect having autism because I was different to everyone else. I yeah, I didn't ask for help. I wasn't confident, and now I don't know if you are the same, but like as I've got older, I've grown more confident about different things, like speaking about it and speaking to other people.
Yeah, same with me. Like, I once I accepted that I have it, and I found like the support group on Clubhouse,
Mm.
it actually helped it felt like a weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. For the first time, I felt like I had found a set of people, a group of people that I could talk about these experiences with. Like, only they would get it. Like, everybody else is just like, oh, okay. And I guess they don't look at me any differently, but 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 again, it's kind of hard for me to find the words. But like, being inside of the support group has definitely changed the way I it's helped to increase my confidence in talking about this,
Yeah.
because and now it's made me more inclined to really really speak to others about it and whatnot. They say there's been people in certain groups rumbling about how like certain immunizations and vaccines cause autism. And again, that's like it's pretty much them talking about it like it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it is.
you know, you have people that are at different levels with it. You have people who are nonverbal, like from childhood up to even adulthood, they don't really communicate well.
Yeah.
And or if they do try to form words, it or they I don't know, there's people that will make noises, or they call different things. They have their names, they have their way of describing certain things, like a water bottle, or a fork, or a knife, or like or certain foods, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I I know what you mean, because yeah, it's like it is hard to talk about it, and I think it still is. I wouldn't go out like to the public or someone I don't know, just blurt out I've got autism and stuff, unless it was necessary, like going to school, going for a job. Do you find hard for like going for a job, like maybe a job or something, and talking about to them about autism?
Well, yeah, because oftentimes I just got a new job
Yeah.
just the other day, like, and I'm in a situation, I'm in a thing where I have to sell things to, where I have to pretty much get people to set appointments for people to have like solar panels put on their houses. But more on that.
Yeah.
When we apply for jobs, they have this checkbox that says, "Oh," that asks you to self-identify if you have a disability, and they've included autism as a disability, like an intellectual one, or intellectual disability and whatnot. And it's really, and they say that it's not going to be used against you when you get employed and whatnot. When they look to hire you, or you get employed, or whichever thing. And I look at that and I'm just like, I don't know. I kind of pause at answering that, because what if they say this particular thing and they do the opposite, you know? Because when it comes to like even things like racial identity, like we check those boxes, like Black or African American, and what if the company just hires me as a Black person, and they just you have that as just to fill the quota, and they wind up going on with the same things that are in violation of these agreements that are set forth by the laws and restrictions and all of that. What if I'm discriminated against because of my racial identity? What if I'm discriminated against because of my disability? You know, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
And then when you're on the job, the set accommodation that you would want to request, it's not, you don't even know whether it's been provided to you or not. And not and then everybody just looks at you like, "Oh, I'm not willing to hold your hand with this, or whatever. You got to learn this right away, right away." Like, it's some jobs are like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite upsetting to hear, like with jobs, and if you have autism, like they say, so some will say that they can't have you because you're just you're gonna be much slower than other people, and that job might require to be fast, but they should be understanding, and it is quite annoying and quite upsetting to because jobs are like that in workplaces.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes it can be hard to even look for a job even.
Yeah,
Like, I remember just sitting and applying to places, and I'm like, wait, why is it taking so long for me to find something? There shouldn't be, and everywhere is hiring, yet nobody's getting hired. Like as we like to say, the math isn't mathing. Something's not adding up, you know? And I guess I know it's not like I have autism on my resume or anything like that, I but sometimes you fill out these applications and I look at an application and just be turned off instantly. Like I don't want to fill out all of this stuff. It seems too complicated. It seems like it's asking too much of me to do all at once.
Yeah. Yeah, it is because like it's hard because like I wouldn't like ask for help in the workplace when I find it hard to do that. And like like in special school, in my experience, sometimes teachers will come over to say if you needed support. Suppose it depends with your relationships, like going back to relationships with like people. And if you get on with one particular member of staff, you maybe prefer them than another one that you don't get on with really. I think.
Yeah, that usually happens too. You'll see people that you get on with pretty nice, and then and then there's one other person that they just don't like you off the bat, and you don't, and then you wind up not really trying to associate with them. I remember I was working as a cargo agent in a warehouse at an airport, and many of my peers, some of them actually liked being around me. They were fun to be around. But there was one person that was just like a prima donna and thought he was like thought he was the manager, or that he was the top boss, and he pulled his weight, he held mad weight. And just like he would always brush me off or act like he didn't know me. But when it came to him wanting me to do something for him, he would come up to me and be like, "Hey, you come over here. I want you to tie this down for me." Blah blah blah. Like he wanted to just delegate orders, and after that, not really business with me after that. Like, I didn't. And then the way he would talk to me, I didn't really like that. It just didn't sit well. I've been finding myself in situations now where I would go to a place, and sometimes the way people would say things, I'd be like, it just wouldn't sit well with me. And I don't really try to argue with anybody. I just leave because it's not worth it, because I don't feel like it's worth wasting the energy to do so.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah, like I suppose you can kind of tell if like a person's going to understand or not between the way they are with you, and if they want to learn, or if they want to know more about you. Because I remember I went to a workplace like for some experience, and no one knew about autism, so it was bizarre. I thought that no one there didn't really know much about it. And um, yeah, and that they did change bits around when they knew about autism and stuff. Like I may not ask for help. They did say if I can try, but yeah, that was hard. But yeah, it's hard. It is. That's one thing when I suppose you haven't got much confidence, that it does hard find you find it hard to ask for help.
Yeah, it really is difficult to ask for help. Like you'll think you have it nailed down to a T, and then I find whenever I ask for help, the little bit of help that I've gotten, then I'll take it, but then I run with it, and I don't even receive the full amount of help that I actually need. And then it winds up being a thorn in my side, or a hole in, or basically I trip myself up as a result, you know?
Yeah, that's it.
Um,
Yeah, it is pretty tough. Like and as well, like as going back to maths, like, I wasn't particularly the best at maths either. And so like you would go on there, and I suppose you would dread if the teacher asked you, picked on you to answer a question, and you knowing that it's probably wrong, and then you feel like, is everyone going to laugh at me? Like they're saying that they know what to do and you don't.
and then wait, when you said that you were in a workplace where people didn't really know about autism, and they said
Yeah,
that they would try.
yeah,
That that that's crazy. I mean, everybody should know what autism is, but I think everybody should change the way they know about autism, like how they know it to be. Because as soon as you say like you have an intellectual disability, the first thing that people jump to is, oh, so you're probably retarded or mentally challenged or whatever. And then oh, and then the way they talk to you changes. But the way they talk to you, you can just instantly tell it's not coming from a good place. You know, nobody wants to be in a situation in any place where you have to explain yourself constantly to others just so that they can understand. No, you want to be in a place where people understand you like right away, and the work that they put in to understand you is actually genuine, and it's not just a thing that they do out of sheer convenience, or like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like out of sheer convenience or sheer like, okay, you're here, so I just have to do this and whatever. Like, no.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly what you mean because, yeah, like it was like when I found out about that and they didn't understand. Well, they did say they heard of it, but not know much about it. But what was I was shocked that because I did kind of like a presentation kind of thing where I'm in the room with some of the people that work there and explaining it about that like I'm not gonna be the same as someone else that has autism and I would have been the first person they had that had autism in there, and yeah, it's hard to explain, isn't it, autism to someone?
It is hard to explain because there's different degrees of it. It's a spectrum. So like it's various levels to it.
Yeah,
And even now, as I explain it, it's still difficult to put into words. The best way I've been able to explain it is just talking about my own experiences. One time, there was one time where a fellow dancer of mine, a fellow dancer, um, I'm not gonna say his name because for
yeah,
privacy purposes.
yeah.
But he expressed that his child has autism, and I wound up going in the comments on Facebook to say, hey, it's not a bad thing. I have it. I've been dealing with it for I've been living with it for my entire life. I was able to do, and I told him about the many accomplishments that I've made since we had, and I spoke. This was before I joined the support group, and I knew about and I knew about there were others that had the same experiences as me. This is before I knew about the support group. This was like years before, and I
Mhm.
told them, hey, it's not a bad thing. Your child's limitless, so you just gotta stick with them, and stick with him. Find out what his special interest is, and support the child to the fullest extent.
Funny.
Because we can do amazing things.
Yeah, yeah. It's good that like you kind of offered that like advice because it is important because like it can be hard, I suppose, for a parent to like, I suppose deal with someone who has autism, especially if they are unaware themselves, maybe, or they might know a little bit about it. But I think it's hard when you have a child that is autistic.
Yeah. When we were just I was just in a I just happened to stumble across a Twitter thread yesterday. As you know, there's like an ongoing no war with Russia going into Ukraine doing whatever.
Yeah.
And this person that was tweeting about it, I was discussing it, he he exclaimed that he had autism, and but he referred to it as a mental illness.
Oh,
I was like, wait, what? This isn't a mental illness. Like, wait, I don't, I don't consider myself to be mentally ill. Sure, I've had bits and pieces of anger from not understanding why I'm wired like this, or why I have what I have, why I'm living with what I'm living with, and not being able to do certain things about situations that I've encountered where I didn't understand these things right away. But but this isn't something that I would have to be committed to a a hospital and receive treatment for it. No, there's no medical treatment for this. And contrary to what some people might believe regarding receiving immunizations and all the and blah blah blah, like I don't think there's anything that causes this specifically. At least
Yeah.
I don't think that.
Yeah, I think it
Mm.
just it happens, doesn't it?
Wow.
Like it can either happen when you're an
Wow.
adult or like as a child, like growing up and stuff. And I think nowadays I see and I hear about people that do get diagnosed as an adult, like now, and like as you say, it's not a mental illness, although it could possibly affect your mental health sometimes, maybe, but it's not like known
Mm.
as a mental illness.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not a mental illness. No,
Mm,
it will have a profound impact on your mental health when you encounter situations with people and stuff. But it's not something that one would have to be. I just when I saw that comment, I was like, yo, it is like the disability that we have, but it's not something that you would have to receive medical treatment for,
yeah,
it's really not that. Excuse me. Let me get a tissue real quick. Uh
yeah,
woo. So yeah,
yeah,
this is a heavy subject for me still.
yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah. But yeah, my eyes water sometimes too. Um, like like as well. Um, but yeah, it is like autism in a whole can have its up and downs. So don't you think?
I think the heaviness of this is just it just comes from not being it comes from like living with it the entire time and like not being understood by everybody else that everyone else around you and and not understanding why everybody else doesn't understand you and being afraid to like speak about it at the great length that we're speaking about it now
Yeah,
to other folks because you fear being outcasted, you fear being stereotyped, you fear being treated adversely because of it and whatnot.
mm,
And then people might try to walk all over you and stuff because they feel like you won't do anything about it.
yeah,
Like it's crazy.
yeah. Like you're kind of vulnerable to that, aren't you? Like you're vulnerable to being maybe picked on and stuff like that, which it's not
Yeah.
nice. It's not nice, and like some people may think it's like an illness or a disease just because maybe yeah, there's no certain cure, but it's not. It's not a like a pass on thing, is it? It's not like an illness or a disease. It's just something that I think we embrace it, don't we? Once we do that, that causes awareness, and I think it's great what you do, and you're talking about it, having support groups and doing your dancing as well.
It's like I say, it's a weight it's lifted off my shoulders it's a weight lifted off my shoulders because I'm able to find people just that are similar to me, that have similar like not just values but traits. Like there's people that are just knowing that there's people that are just like me, that are similar to me out in the world that I can actually converse with. It's actually pretty sobering. It's like it's like a relief
Yeah,
because now I don't have because now I don't feel like I have to put up this act like I can be as regular as possible. I don't feel like I have to mask myself. You know?
yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Um, just but before we go, because I think it's been a really good chat to you
Yes.
about autism.
Yes.
I think we've covered a lot, haven't we? Like with autism and like
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Like if there's any advice maybe you could give maybe to people maybe in your experience of maybe find things hard or your autism in general, what would advice would you say you would give out? Do you think?
Um, for those that have for parents that have autistic children, if your child is on the spectrum, don't use it. Don't like don't give up on your child. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I would say. It's not the end of your child's diagnosed with autism. It's not the end of the world. Um, it just means your child navigates the world a little differently than others. You know,
Yeah.
so whatever your child takes an interest in, and they talk to you about it, you want to sit. You want it's your job is just to listen to them, listen, support. You know, support them, guide them. You know, because the world that we live in is like it, it's cold, it's brutal, it's nice sometimes, it's bad sometimes or a lot of times, but just be positive about it. You know, just be positive about about the interests that your child takes. Find their learning style and cater to it as much as possible. Definitely get them the special services that they need, and of course explain to them in the best way possible that hey, okay, so you have you have this thing called autism. Tell them about learn about it, of course, but definitely explain it to them in a way that doesn't make them think that they're lesser than, or they're lesser than a human being or a regular functioning being. You know, they can live a full on life. There is no Just remind them that there is no limit to what it is they can do in this world, in this life. You know, they can make positive changes. They could be they could become anything they want to be. You know, just tell them to follow their dreams, to follow their heart. For children and adults that are autistic, just you're not alone. That's the main thing I want to say. You're not alone. Um, there's many of us that are out here. Definitely find a group of people that you can relate to. Your friend. Definitely find a group of people that accept you for who you are and won't judge you, won't look at you like you're crazy. Um, and and if you can if you can definitely educate them on definitely educate them, and if you find that they're not really receptive to learning, then that's definitely not the tribe for you. Definitely definitely join a support group for autism, because you can connect with others that share similar experiences, that share similar stories to you, and you never know who you're helping. You never know who it is you're inspiring. And most importantly, find something that not just take up special interest, but find a hobby that you can do, that you can stick by. You know, find a hobby that you can stick by and commit yourself to a point where it can bring you joy. It can bring you joy and peace and fulfillment and, you know, overall happiness. Because the ultimate goal in life is to achieve happiness, is to be
Yeah.
happy, you know. Find what makes you happy and stick with it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to like finish, like because do something you're happy about, like with hobbies, as you say. Like we may talk about our hobbies quite a lot to some of the people that may not be interested in them, but that part of autism, we kind of, I suppose, talk about one hobby a lot. You might like with your dancing talk about it a lot, which is great. Like it's good. Like I suppose, like I don't know about you, but I always used to worry about what other people thought of me. But now I don't. I don't care what people think. We just get on with stuff in a way.
Yeah, I don't fight to be accepted anywhere that I already feel like I'm not going to be accepted at. That's one thing I don't do. Like I don't try to find my way into like people's events or anything like that. Or not just not so much like if I go somewhere and I'm mistreated, like if I go to anywhere like a business or a restaurant and I'm mistreated there, then I don't go there again, ever.
Yeah.
Like it's a one strike and you're done. It's a one and done thing.
Yeah. I think
You know?
big way to be, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's freeing. There's power in not spending your money in places where you're not treated well. There's
Yeah.
a lot of power in it.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's been really good speaking to you, and I love your name, Dr. Vibesman, because all about vibes.
Yes. Oh yeah, yes,
Yeah.
Dr. Vibesman.
Yeah.
I host a show called QSTV. We're
Yeah.
on YouTube. We're also on Twitch. Official QSTV on YouTube. We've interviewed people. We've interviewed artists and artists like musicians, singers. I interviewed somebody that is a mental health advocate and wellness coach. Big up homegirl. Get Flat Fit Right. You know what I mean? Big her up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Big up all the music producers, the singers, the MCs, and of course, I want to shout out my crew, Flow Royalty crew, and Mastermind Rockers. So I go by the name King Jamrock. That's also an artist name. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And that's because I come from a Jamaican family. Um, that's my heritage and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, hip hop. We love hip hop big time since I was a kid. So yeah,
Yeah.
hip hop culture and all that.
Yeah, like it's what you do with your dancing. Like you coach people, like with your dance and your hip hop.
Oh yeah, we tell people. Yeah, we cipher with people. We've battled people. We've done some amazing things, man. But yeah, on my show, we've also hosted events. Like I just finished hosting a beat battle at the last event we had called the Link Up. It's on our YouTube page. Definitely check it out.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had a I had a blast hosting that, by the way.
You'll have to send me the link once we've finished here, because
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
yeah, I'd
I'll
love to
definitely
see
send
it.
you the link.
I'd love to see it. But yeah, like it's been great speaking to you. I think we've done really good, lots of topics and lots of
Yes.
things that we change, and we hope to change about autism as well. Because like with education especially, I think it's a big one, isn't it?
Education is a major one.
Yeah,
It's an area of interest or concern. You know what I mean? It's a big area.
definitely.
Like if we change the education around it, and maybe more people will begin to understand.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the aim, just to hope more people understand, so we don't have to explain ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, it's been great speaking to you, Dr. Vibesman, and it's been a pleasure. We definitely will stay in contact and do more together.
No doubt.
Definitely.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.